Welcome. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil.
And we are
rocking the love.
And we are rocking the love separately.
How yes, weird. Indeed.
Hi, honey.
This is the first time we've done it this way, I think, right?
Right.
Yeah. Wow. And not only are we separate, but we're also recording ahead so that we can have our special guest. So it's all a little different than we normally do it.
So yes, this is a pre-recorded show. And Gil is broadcasting from New Mexico. And I am broadcasting from Oakland, California. And you are listening from wherever you're listening. And we'd love for you to put that in the chat and let us know and comment and do all those things, like our pages. And we love to hear from you. And this show is actually, because we heard from some of our viewers, about just wanting to dive a little deeper. So, let us know when you have things come up or what's on your mind so that we can keep that in the front and foremost of what we're doing here. So here we are, separate together. How's your week?
The week is good. It's a lot. I have lost, I think, a few pounds in sweat since I've been here.
That is good.
I've been drinking a lot of water, but finding myself doing a lot of things and finding that there are so many things I could be doing. So, and I go home and it's a little lonely.
Aww.
A little quiet. My Robyn's not there. No one's there to watch TV late into the night while I'm trying to sleep. It's weird.
I know. Life is strange. Well, cherish it while you can, because I'll be there at some point. You'll be like, oh, I remember when it was quiet and I could sleep.
Yeah, well, there's good parts too. I mean, I just decided I was going to get up this morning and make some stuff, some tuna salad for lunch and tuna macaroni salad. So I just got up and I just did the whole thing this morning.
Oh my God, I had tuna salad today too.
Oh my. This reminds me of when we were dating. No, this reminds me of before we were dating.
Right? And we would always be in sync. And that's a lot. This is another show, so I don't want to go into it, but that's a lot of what it feels like for me. I feel like it's almost like a rejuvenation, a recharging and a connection on different levels, because these are the levels that people talk about in relationship that go away after you're together, right?
Yeah, everything. Well, like anything, if you keep doing the same thing the same way, it starts to feel stale a little bit.
I try to tell you that all the time.
I know. That's why I grew this little thing here, because I know how much you like change on my face. Yeah, okay, not really. But you hit on a good point, and that is it and I think for us it's really interesting because our relationship started without being together.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's something about that that's kind of magical for us too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to
again another show.
Oh, yeah. That is interesting. Like, it's like the joys of long distance relationship.
There you go.
A lot of people could relate to that nowadays with this Zoom world we live in and this, long distance. I mean, long distance isn't as long as it was because you're right here.
Right.
This was before I could see you on the phone or whatever. We just had phones.
Yeah, I remember those days in long distance where, we call grandma on Sundays because it's cheaper and then we only stay on for 5 minutes.
It's not that world anymore.
No, it's not. Cool. Thankfully so.
Yeah. Now you tune in and see grandma on TikTok. Crazy thing.
Well, yeah, or I tune in and I see grandpa right in front of me. Whoa, who's that guy?
All right. So today we are our show is Rockin. Our theme for the month is Rockin' the Summer 11. And we realized that really had a lot to do with all of our relationships with ourselves, because as we say over and over in many different ways all over our show and others, there's, the only one thing happening, and that's us.
Yep.
There's only our relationship with ourselves. And so, how do we really heal the parts that may feel disrupted? And how do we bring things back into harmony? And how do we come into integrity with ourselves so that we can really move forward in a different way? Right?
Yep. And so today, how do we get to today's show?
Oh, are you asking me to, or are you telling me?
I'm asking you. I'm asking you to remind me.
It's a whole lot harder when I can't just kick you in the leg.
Yeah, I know. You can't make me say it.
That's right.
No, really. I mean, well, I was thinking, we got to today's show because of people responding and some people having pointing out that there was a lot of stuff stirred up on a show that we did at the end of July.
Right.
So we decided that part of our summer loving was loving ourselves enough to go back and just be with that for a minute. Yep. And so we invited somebody to be here to help us with the process. And that's where we're going today.
That's where we're going today. So we'll do that when we come back from a break. But before we do that, I'm going to turn off my phone. I'm going to ask you, it's time for, and here's the good news.
And the good news.
The good news of the week.
Good news that I've discovered here in New Mexico is it can rain a whole lot and do a lot of stuff. And then you get up in the morning and it's pretty much all dry. It's just gone.
It's kind of fabulous.
It is kind of fabulous.
But it's like in New Mexico, like what I experienced when I was there, it was that, it rained and you get up in the morning and it's relatively dry, but you can feel that it's really seeped into the earth.
Yeah.
Got all that terracotta stuff going on. And so, but it's just that whole feeling like, like sometimes I feel like when it rains in California or whatever, that it rains and then there's puddles and the water sits there. It's not like it sinks in, but it feels like in New Mexico, I guess because there's so much desert and trees and all this stuff, it feels like it's really like you can still feel the rain in the plant.
Okay. Well, I think the most interesting part to me is just how beautiful it is when it just this going through that process. I mean, I go through my day, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, all these things. Get home and I go in, and then an hour or two later, I hear noise and I realize it's raining outside. And then I see lightning, and then I hear thunder. And then 40 minutes later, it's all done.
It's great.
Off it goes. That's good news. What's up there? What's good news?
The good news I was reading about is a teenager. I seem to be finding a lot of young people's stories, but a teenager that actually saved a drowning baby.
Wow.
That dived into a pool and saved the baby and gave it CPR. And I just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just so moved when people are really willing to take that extra, step to do things that are scary.
Yeah.
For me, yes, I would dive in and I would grab a baby, but I'd be scared when I pushed or whatever, trying to bring the baby out of the thing that I was going to break a little rib or do something wrong. I'm sure I probably wouldn't in the moment. I get that you act from a different place, but just the thought of that and knowing to do that when you're 17 or whatever, I love it.
Well, I think the amazing part, but not only for teenagers, but most of us adults, is that you have to look up from your phone long enough to notice that there's something in the world going on that you might want to, react to or respond to. So I commend them for that, just paying attention to the world around you enough to see something and realize, wow, I could be of service there.
Yeah, good point. I love that. I love that point. That too is another show.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we get it just for everyone's knowledge, we gave our god kids phones this week, so they've had their first week with a phone. They're in 8th grade and 9th grade, and yeah, it's been quite the journey. And Gil doesn't even get the full impact because he's not here.
No,
My,
no, I'm not even there.
my God, and it's really. I mean, I get it. I get that. Throughout the generations, we've all been distracted by different things that we've gotten. But this phone thing, it takes them to a whole nother world. They're not present. They don't believe us that we're going to take the phone away if they do X, Y, and Z. And so they test it. And it is, it is a growth opportunity for all.
It is. It's just this particular generation's challenge to overcome. Yes. And it's just how it outpictures this time around. Think about it. What about when the first wheel was invented? And that dang teenager, all they wanted to do was try to get around and see how far they could go with the dumb wheel. I'm sure there was some parent going, "Get off of that wheel."
Yeah, probably. But I don't know. The wheel couldn't do as much back.
That's true.
Between dialing into their friends and YouTube and TikTok and God knows how many sites out there and this button and that button. Anyway.
Well, and all of that kind of flows into our day stuff of, there's so much input coming in from the outside, but there's also so much life that each of us has lived and experienced ourselves. And when we had our guests on a few weeks ago, the Authentic Voices, which is a readers theater group from the Center of Spiritual Awareness in West Sacramento, California, they shared with us some of the things that they do, and one of the things is to really take and tell people stories. And they're not just telling people stories; they're telling stories of diversity and inclusion, and of pain and of suffering and of all these different things. And so that's what we're going to talk about for a bit today.
That we are going to do that right after we get back from this commercial break, right here on New Thought Media Network.
New Thought has a money problem. It's okay to talk about prosperity. It's okay to talk about abundance. It's okay to talk about overflow, but often talking about money feels taboo, or it feels verboten, like do not talk about that. And I've experienced this in our New Thought communities and our centers and with our New Thought friends. And so here's my thinking: who better to have money and to have mastered a money mindset than those of us who are working to build a more equitable world using New Thought spirituality, New Thought technology, and all of the wonderful things that we know work. I am Reverend Cheryl McCreary, and I invite you to join me for a 5-week online workshop entitled Manifest More Money. This work is intended to use spiritual practices and practical actions to help you bust through your money set point, to help you release any kind of money shame or guilt or limits or limited thinking and boxes you put yourself in, and to really move into right relationship, divine right relationship with money. Indeed, our divine birthright is to have unlimited abundance, and that includes money. So I invite you to join me. We're going to kick everything off on Thursday, September 1st. All of the information is right here in the post below. The link for you to register is right here for you. And here's the really great thing. If you register using the link here at New Thought Media Network, they will receive 50% of your registration fee. It goes directly to New Thought Media Network. So I invite you to join me. Let's take this walk together. Let's blow the hinges off of our money consciousness and our money limits. And let's really get aligned with that divine source of energy that we use on this plane to exchange goods and services and to create a better world. I invite you to join me. I look forward to it.
And we're
Welcome back.
on Rockin' the Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil.
And
And we're happy to have you.
we are happy to have you. No matter what you think about that music, it makes you want to dance.
It
Right?
does. It does. Apparently it made my screen want to dance a little too, but I'm not sure that was planned.
All right.
Are we ready to introduce our guest?
We are. I just wanted to say something though about that little commercial from Reverend Rochelle McCreary. We are very excited. We're going to be having her as a guest on our show in a few weeks. So make sure and stay tuned for that. I believe it's on the 25th. And she is really a very special, insightful person who will give us some insights and some tips on really beginning to heal our relationship with money. So we look forward to that.
And did we actually have the link up there? I don't think we did. It was just her web address, right? That link there is one you would click, but it doesn't give people where they would actually go, and you can't click it from here that I know of.
It says use New Thought Media Network link.
Right. So where is that link? That's what I'm saying. So anyway, we'll figure that out, folks.
That's a mystery,
We'll
but we will get it to you. We will get it to you. If you're interested, just make sure and remain interested, and we will get you the link.
Or send us a note, and we'll get back to you. You can send it to info@rockinthelove.com.
Perfect. So now it is our honor and privilege to introduce our guest, who is someone we love very, very much, all the way from Mexico. She is our grief doula. You may have seen her show on Mondays. And welcome, Bonnie Gonzalez.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. Welcome. I am happy to be here. I was going to say, Robyn and Gil, I so enjoyed listening to the two of you. That was a show in itself. When you were talking a bit about being apart, and then they're talking about the music, I thought, oh, they should play that music from The Love Boat. It sounds like you guys are like having a little honeymoon, but it's kind of separate. So yeah, I think you should play the Love Boat music. And then you were talking about the boys getting new cell phones. And I have a granddaughter. She was their age at one point. But I remember I was on my cell phone. And we were walking. I was walking with my granddaughter, and I'm texting, right? And I say to her, oh, wait a minute. I've got to send this text. And she says to me, because she calls me Lola, she says, Lola, you mean you can't walk and text at the same time? So I said, no, and neither should you. So I just love the chuckles that our young people can bring to our lives. And Gil, I so appreciate what you said about the rain. Being from California, it rains every night here, and it's just beautiful. It's like the lullaby from God to say, I'm going to put you to sleep with the sound of rain. Mm-hmm. So that's, yeah. So we could have a whole show just around those three subjects: the phone, the rain, and the love boat. So
we could, but let's talk about the lullaby, really, of healing yourself, because and all the things that have gone before. So where do we want to start this conversation?
Well, I just wanted to comment that that Bonnie was one of the people that pointed out that some of the things that were shared on our show, July 27th show, were pretty intense, and and for anyone that was relating to them, relating like it was something that had happened in their life, perhaps it could have been pretty difficult. And so, in part because she's our doula for grief, and she's a practitioner, and she's smart, we thought, well, maybe she's a good person to talk about some of this. And so we want to go back and review some of that. But I think we might want to start with giving people a flavor, if they didn't happen to see that show, of what this group does. This isn't the ones they actually did with us, but this is just a sampling of some of the stuff they do. or it will be.
There's no sound.
I was in love. It was that once in a lifetime. I can't believe I found the one love. And I couldn't wait to bring him home to meet the family. Grandma, I'm home.
Oh, hello, baby girl. It's so glad to see you. And who is this?
Oh, this is Michelle.
Michelle? What? Baby girl. He's white.
Oh, he's not that kind of white, Grandma. He's French.
Mm-hmm.
I've got white privilege. How about you? Are you one of the ones who can feel it too?
What's up with you? You got a boyfriend, a husband or something?
No, I'm gay.
I didn't feel comfortable with mine. I wanted a male body. I felt like a lesbian imposter.
I had graduated to the beauty shop of horrors.
Beauty shop of horrors, beauty shop. You knew it was gonna happen. You came out to the club. Somebody's gonna ask you to dance. You can sit up on the wall and drink all night long. You're gonna have to move. Calm down though. Just step on the downbeat, not the upbeat, right? No, it's so hard for me because I'm half black and everybody expects me to know how to dance and get down. I really want to please my African ancestors, and so sometimes I feel real good. But then again, I'm half white, and that sometimes messes me up.
Great show. It was
Thanks,
fantastic.
Marlo, for playing that. Wow. So that just gives you a little sample of what kinds of things they do. And was that kind of representative, Bonnie?
Oh, I'd say that, and then some.
And then some, yes.
And then some. Well, I'll just speak to how that impacted me. I did watch the entire show, and initially some of the vignettes were kind of like, oh, I'm over that. There was one person that was still feeling the guilt from having had been in a play that they were in blackface. And so I just felt like, been there, done that. There was another vignette that came and went. And then there was the one that really, really got my attention, the molestation of 2 young girls. And I'll keep it in the eye. I was really disturbed. My first thoughts were, what were the parents thinking? How could that have been? Where was the parents' knowledge of being parents? And then it got to the part that I felt like, what if somebody else that is actually having been molested, what are they feeling? What are they going through? And I'll just put it this way, being a doula for grief, sitting with so many people, hearing so many stories, different stories, it all boils down to, where does someone go from here? Where do they go from here? And I so applaud them. I applaud this group for bringing that to my awareness. As I said, I'm going to keep it in the eye. Bringing it to my awareness to see, for me to examine, why was that so difficult to watch? Why, what did that bring up for me? And I just feel so fortunate that I don't have sexual abuse as a part of my history. But how many people do I know that do have that? And where was I? It even got to me, like, do I know anyone that could be being abused now? Am I making myself available? Do they know how to reach out? So it was those kinds of things that came up. The what do you want to call it? The residual effects, because not only young girls, young boys as well.
I think there's so many levels.
Yeah, I was
to not only that story, but to their whole program. and I find all different things in each of the vignettes, like you said. But since we started with that one, there's just so many levels, because I'm interested in, like, when we talk about grief and letting go, and we talk about, we're talking about the person that has had the sexual abuse, which is, of course, a travesty. But there's also all the other people, like you said, the parents, how, and the kids in feeling, I'm assuming, some sort of loss of parents in that moment, loss of protection. I mean, I would think you're not only, the act and the loss of who Uncle Ralph was in their story. If Uncle Ralph had been this loving, fabulous uncle, but there's so many levels to grief and loss.
Yes. And Robyn, I so hear that there's so many levels, because even with feeling this, there's not only the loss of trust of your parents, the protection, lots of victims in these types of perpetrating crimes, that they feel that they somehow played a part into that they're feeling that they're left with feelings of guilt, even though there was nothing that you could have done in that instance.
Right.
And how it manifests through people's lives, everyone's an individual. Grief is a very individualized emotion, and everybody feels that in different ways. And for me, I just thought, gosh, we could talk about everything in our society, erectile dysfunction, suicide, but do we talk about the molestation of a child, or molestation at any age, or not being able to have being respected? So that just brought me to how it is truly multi-layered, then multi-layered with the grief aspect, and grief is caused by loss, and what has been lost, that loss of innocence. Yeah, somebody took my innocence away, my innocence about life. So, yes.
Well, I think that's the beauty of what they do. What Authentic Voices does is they tell the story. And in telling the story, it's no longer a secret. It's no longer that thing that we can't talk about. Because, in the story, the girls go into a room with Uncle Ralph, and the parents are outside the door, and supposedly they can overhear the parents talking. And the parents are, dealing with their own feelings about, we want to be good parents, and we want to be nice to, and being nice is important, and all this stuff,
Yes.
right? And then they finally follow through on their instincts, which were correct. And they move Ralph, but they don't boot him out. They just move him to the room next door. And interestingly, after that, the parents are still dealing with it in a way, because they can't talk about it. They can't even process with their little girls, knowing that the little girls must be having all kinds of feelings. So what it did for me was it made me ask, made me look at the part of the story, which is, the story doesn't start with the two little girls in the room. There's a whole nother story that we have no clue about with those parents, and how they were brought up, and who was in their lives, and who, and then who their parents were, and what happened to them, and so all these different pieces. And so I think the thing with Authentic Voices is they're calling us to break the pattern, whatever, to tell the truth, and then start to break the pattern of trying to hide it, but to work through it.
Yes. And also to bring up that issue, excuse me, you were saying if the uncle was such a wonderful person, the parents not talking about that afterwards, that certain behaviors can be known
Mm-hmm.
In families, certain behaviors can be known, but
Mhm.
nothing is done about it. There was a family that I knew personally. They would say, "Oh, Bobby's coming over today, and make sure those kids are not alone with Bobby. Make sure somebody keeps an eye on Bobby at all times." Instead of someone confronting Bobby with this, that has this type of behavior. So
Right.
as I applaud Authentic Voices for bringing this issue up, because it's an issue that we do not talk about. It still has a big stigma attached
Right.
to it. And we're talking about summer love and talking about loving ourselves and removing those, examining those parts that we feel that keeps us unlovable. And 9 times out of 10 people that have been molested feel unlovable, feel dirty, shameful in some way. And so being able to have this dialogue right here, right now, is a step in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so the question really becomes, I mean, because those are great points, Gil. Those are really great points. The question really becomes, though, here we are now, everyone with the information they have, and each of us hold our own piece, whether we're the parents going still beating ourselves up for not having done it a different way, or whether we're the kids still identifying as, however we're identifying. And so how do we move through that grief? How do we really take those steps to let it go and to really integrate in our body that it's okay that we didn't do it, that it, you know what I mean?
Yes, I hear you, Robyn. And that was the second aspect that I so appreciated hearing. And I think they addressed this on the show, that the person because all of these vignettes, I believe, were actual true stories, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that each time that person could witness their vignette, it was a way of giving voice to what happened, a way of validating that's what happened. Because that is the big component of grief, is that it has to be validated. It has to be, that's why you need someone to witness it. With any parts of our lives and the stories of our lives, we need to have it witnessed. That's how we began to move through. Each time maybe that person saw that vignette, maybe there was a different emotion that came up. Maybe there was the intense anger initially of the parents, angry with the parents, angry with the uncle. Maybe the second time, and they could move through that anger, seeing it, having other people witness what happened and say, your anger is so justified. And moving through that anger to maybe there got to be a point of just deep sadness and sorrow. Being able maybe to weep through that, or cry through that, or move your body through that, whatever needs to happen to be able to move through each step. And that's how we move through grief. So the grief that was caused by this incident is treated in that way. And I do want to add one other point, though, that there is trauma there. And that's another issue, or another issue that should be addressed.
It's another
emotional. Yes. I was going to say issue. I was going to say layer, but you had to use layer. So I thought I'll try a different word now. So, and an added component, an additional component is trauma in addition to that violation.
I wonder, I mean, it's not a set thing that, okay, you've been molested and now you have trauma necessarily, right? I'm asking.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just kind of back up a little bit with grief. And I'll just use something really just kind of big.
Okay. Say
that my brother died. That's one thing, that he died. But my brother was murdered. That is a violent act. that led to the death. It wasn't just that he died. So I've got to deal with the fact that my brother was murdered. But however that happened, that trauma, that shock of realizing that, I've got to move through that before I can even get down to what I'm really feeling about the loss of no longer having my brother in my life. I've got to deal with that somebody hated him enough or whatever happened, that the circumstances that happened also adds to the tragedy of having lost a person. Does that make any sense, Robyn?
It does, but I still question. I mean, I get if that happened, that you would be, that would probably be a traumatizing event. I mean, because there's so many levels of violence and different things. But what I'm asking is I didn't really want to make it general, but I will. Is everyone
make it general? You can make
is everyone
general.
who's molested necessarily traumatized by? Does it all involve trauma in their life, or could it just be part of the events that then pass?
Well, it's like, it's like anything else. It's the circumstances around it.
Right.
It's the circumstances around it. It's the individual response to what happened. It's the circumstances around it. As you said, I'm saying that there's no cookie cutter way to say this happened to you. So now you have trauma and you have abuse. Or, okay, you're only traumatized. The abuse part didn't happen. It's looking at it as a whole.
Right.
And yes. And yes.
No, I was just going to say, so some of it is the way you hold it, because in the way that story is told, part of the most traumatizing part of it for me is just the parents outside the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm traumatized by knowing that they were right there and couldn't do anything, didn't do anything. That part.
But they did. They couldn't do it right away. They had to get to it.
They did. But you know what I mean? I mean, that's where it's that split second of when they didn't, that it even happened at all. As for me, what I like to think is my little child self goes, that's the moment where I'm like, well, wait, you're the parent, you're the protector. Why did this happen at all? Kind of thing.
Wow.
So, I mean, so I'm just, what I'm really doing is rationalizing out that the trauma happens in all different ways. It's not necessarily just about the event as much as it's about
circumstances
feeling
around it.
Yeah, the circumstances, the loss of a parent not being there, or no one protecting you, or feeling alone, or
and I was going to say, and this shows how different we are, because you were saying the parents. I thought the parents too, but then I thought about Uncle, whatever his name was. How could he do this? He knows that they love him and trust him. How? I'm traumatized that he felt that he could violate two young girls, or violate his friends' trust in him to allow him to sleep with their daughters. I was more traumatized by him. I
was traumatized by that first sentence when he said, "I would like to sleep with the girls tonight," or whatever it was. I was like, what? Like, who walks into someone's house and would say that? I mean, that was traumatizing. That was traumatizing.
Yes.
But, obviously I quickly moved to, okay, clearly he's got an issue.
Right, to the parents.
He's a sick man. There's something not good here. Not going to happen right. Just that first declaration. I mean, I can't imagine someone walking into our house and going, "I'm going to sleep with the boys tonight."
Yeah.
And having it be like their aunt. It'd be like, wait, what? That's just weird.
But do you feel it was a culture? I don't know how old this person was, but I took it was a while back, 20, 30 years in the past.
Yeah.
So could it have been a societal issue, a society where society was at that time. Like smoking was cool or whatever. That's not cool now, or different things that we brought to light, you know, with
I think
gay and lesbian
you're absolutely right.
families. Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. That kind of thing was probably just looked at totally different
Mm-hmm.
than it is now on the surface, you know?
Yes.
But here's the piece that I want to introduce, that by bringing this out, the other part that comes up is, how did that uncle get there in his life? Why is he there and perpetrating this? What is it in his life that he hasn't gotten through yet? You know, and I'm pretty sure there's a pretty intense story there if we were to know it. And so I think that's part of the telling these stories, is they make us have to look beyond the surface, you know. On the surface, the parents didn't quite do their job. The girls had a horrible thing happen to them, and this uncle is a real jerk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but that's not the story. You know, that's just the piece of it. You know. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it almost sounds like that that statement. I think that we're really trying to move away from, that hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that from so many people that's a statement that's not always true. Just knowing friends that have come from very severely abusive backgrounds,
mm-hmm.
and felt that if they wanted to, they could use that as a reason to be really violent with their own kids. But they said because of their traumas that they have gone the opposite direction, or really overly sometimes compensate.
But don't you think at some level it's because they acknowledge the traumas? I think that what you have is people that have not acknowledged, not gone into what's really driving them. You know, I mean, if you have people that acknowledge, this is what's happened to me, and oh my gosh, I can really see the horrible impact of this on somebody else, and I couldn't do that. But if you're just driven by this angst or anger or sadness or aloneness or whatever it is from whatever the process has been for you, and you don't know where it came from or where it's going, then you have the recipe for the
disaster.
Hurt person. You know, it's not so much that someone's been hurt as it is that someone continues to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think is, again, back to my original statement, that's what this stuff is about, is we're putting the story out and acknowledging it. And so when I watch it, I can now look at it, but I can allow it to seep into me, and where are the pieces of that story that are asking me questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what this is all about. I mean, I think, you know, that's who we are right now as a people. You know, we're trying to be tolerant and open and listening and hearing all the different levels. And I think that, there's so much to this. We could have our own show just on this and talk about it every week, and talk about the stories of the stories of the stories, you know, and all of that. But, you know, right now, just focusing on people that may have experienced trauma or may have experienced molest or may have had some realization during that show, you know, I really want to move into how do they move through it. And, you know, I think what you said, Gil, it brought up for me the other stories that they told, even just about the musical interlude, and, you know, the story about going their 11 o'clock service has more gospel music, and when someone African American came in, they said, "Oh, you might like the 11 o'clock service because of the music," you know. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, we don't always realize, and it's not always about, one intention may not be the issue. It's one intention may be good, but it becomes an issue and all of that. But it's really the damage that happens, or what comes up for the people. So when we come back from this break, Bonnie.
No. I had a comment.
Focus on, okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
When we come back, though, I'd like to focus on just some healing tools, because, as you know, this hour-long show runs short, so we don't.
Oh, that's
time. So
very good. Very good.
You can make your comment. We can go to break.
Oh, okay. I'll make my comment and then go to break, and then come back for healing tips and tools. But what I was going to say, I applaud them bringing up the subject, because now we can discuss it. We can start to discuss it, because it just left that place in my gut, like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want, and as I say, as your doula for grief, leaning into this discomfort. So that's what it has forced me to take my own advice, walk my own talk, and lean into the discomfort of this. But to realize that this is just what we need. These kinds of conversations are just what we need. We live in a society with, what's that expression, toxic positivity. It's like sometimes it's just got to be uncomfortable so that we can grow, we can move forward.
Absolutely.
And not always taking the comfortable route. So, okay.
All right.
I'll turn it back over to you and Gil.
We'll find out how to move forward, maybe not comfortably, but how to move forward right after this break on New Thought Media Network.
Great.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
Welcome back to Rockin' the Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and we're here with our guest, Bonnie Gonzalez, who is your doula for grief.
Yes.
And we are discussing a particular vignette from a previous show we did that talked about child molestation. And what we're going to talk about now is what's some things, what can people do who might have heard something like that or had it trigger in them what's going on? And I just want to note we have about 5 minutes or less to do this. So let's give those tips and tricks succinctly.
Oh my gosh. I better be very quick here. Okay, first of all, for any type of trauma, I do recommend getting professional help from a trauma expert. You can read books such as The Body Keeps the Score. There's different treatments and modalities for treating trauma. EMDR is a perfect tool. If you feel that, okay, I've done that, or now I'm at the next step, or I don't want to do professional help just yet, find a friend. And in that friend, find one friend or 4 friends. You need a friend that has been through exactly what you've been through, that can truly understand what you're saying when you talk about your event, your molestation, or what happened. You need somebody that has gone through that. The second friend is somebody that just treats you like a normal, regular person without any emotional traumas in your past. And the third one is someone that just listens, without any input of that was right. That's somebody that just listens, that holds that emotional space for you. And then number 4, you need a friend who will tell you the truth. And if you can find all 4 of these in one person, that is wonderful. But the truth teller friend is one that tells you the truth about maybe your behaviors. That I've been noticing there's a lot of empty wine bottles at your house. So I see that you're going through like 50, gallons of Haagen-Dazs, a week, and that's not good for you. So somebody that will tell you the truth. And I just want you to know that the number one is the having someone to talk to. If you are feeling anger or rage, this is buy a couple dozen of eggs, go in the woods somewhere and just throw eggs until your arm is tired. You've got all that anger out of. You've got a safe place you can break plates. Sometimes we need to just move it through our physical body. As I said, throwing the eggs, breaking the plates, somehow that you can just move it through your body. If you're a person that meditates, meditation can truly get you in touch with what you're feeling and directing you to the path that you need to go on to find the healing that you so desperately want. And not everybody sits quietly to meditate. There's walking meditations, there's drawing, there's art that really helps to bring that mind down and settle so that you can really see, as I say, the forest when you can't see the forest for the trees. So you'll really be able to see what's needed in your life. I could go on and on, but those are just some just to get you started, and leave time for the host here to speak.
No, those are great. And I think, the first thing, is really acknowledging and just being with it. And then, like you said, finding a friend, finding someone you can talk to about it. Because so much of the time we acknowledge on some level, and then we keep it to ourselves because we don't know who to talk to.
Right.
So whether it's a professional or whether it's, a friend or whatever it is, I think, just even if you look at just the physical aspect of getting it out of your body.
Yes.
Great.
Because sometimes there's so much shame that prevents us from doing those very things, from doing the very thing that we need to do, the shame issue. And that's why talking about it.
Right.
Yes. Well, thank you, Bonnie, so much. Those are great suggestions. I love the 4 friends in one possibility.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think, again, that's part of, that's the beauty of this whole conversation, is that it's about establishing that it's okay. It's okay to have experienced whatever you've experienced, in the sense that it doesn't make you any less of a person.
Right.
And it's okay to talk about it and find a way and to allow your story to be heard by at least one other person, so that to help you work through it.
Yes. And I was going to say, knowing that you are so worthy of love, of being loved, this does not diminish you as a lovable person. That's the component.
Yeah.
I really want people to take home that you are lovable. You are lovable in spite of anything that could have gone before. So,
and I think that really this is what our station and, you know, our movement and New Thought and CSL and Unity, it's all about the love, and it's all again about rocking the love, you know, and coming back to that place inside you, you know, and sometimes we don't see it, we can't feel it, and we find a friend, or we tune in to our doula for grief Mondays at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock Mountain.
12 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Mountain.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we find it. We find something or someone that we can glom onto and begin to explore, because I think the feelings come up gradually. Not, you don't just all of a sudden. You know? So it's a safe place to continue to process and to be open into what's coming. And this is such a huge topic.
And so we are at our time.
Oh no!
And I want to honor that, and I want to just remind people to come and join us next week. We'll be live, or will we? I think we will be. Thank you for indulging us and allowing us to do this special recording so we could have Bonnie with us.
Yes, thank you.
We look forward to seeing everyone next time.
Yes, love yourself. You got to love you. Feel the love for yourself.
And what do we see, Robyn? We're going to be rocking the love all through the week.
Oh, wait a minute. I got something for rocking the love.
All right.
All right, everybody, rock the love out there. And, you know, now we don't even need to ask you for a donation, because you get to take a class and part of the money goes to us. What better could that be? It's a win-win. We get to all learn about money and manifest more of it together. So check that out, and we will see you next week right here on Rockin' the Love.
Rockin' the Love.